Today, we are looking at what the GTX 1050 Ti 4GB can do in 2022. We will test 5 modern games, which are Cyberpunk 2077, Far Cry 6, Watch Dogs Legion, Halo Infinite, and Forza Horizon 5. Our test specifications are shown here. They are the Ryzen 1600 AF with 16GB of DDR4 RAM running at 3000 MHz. The two resolutions we will be using to test our games are 1080p low and 900p low. On our first game, Cyberpunk 2077, at 1080p low we had an average of 30, a minimum of 25 and a maximum of 38. At 900p low we had an average of 39, a minimum of 28 and a maximum of 52. So as we can see here, potentially you might need to use FSR just to help the frame rate a little bit, but if you did want to do 1080p low you can just about get an average of 30 frames a second. But for this title I'd probably recommend going to 900p low here, just to give yourself a little bit more room there. In our second title, Far Cry 6, we saw a 1080p low average of 65, a minimum of 60 and a maximum of 77. At 900p low, we saw an average of 68, a minimum of 54 and a maximum of 90. So as we can see here, Far Cry 6 at 1080p low is perfectly fine, running at 65 frames per second at 1080p low on the GTX 1050 Ti 4GB. Watch Dogs Legion now, 1080p low, an average of 44, a minimum of 27 and a maximum of 60. 900p low of average 55, minimum 29 and a maximum of 71. So as we can see here, you probably want to run Watch Dogs Legion at 900p low. 1080p low is probably a little bit too low, average of only 44 to really warrant that. Again, you might have to play with the settings and potentially even maybe go down to 720p low. Yeah, 900p low at Watch Dogs Legion is just about doable in the 1050 Ti. Halo Infinite now, 1080p low, average of 48, minimum of 39 and maximum of 68. The 900p low of 60, average, minimum of 45 and maximum of 87. So as we can see here, I'd probably recommend going to 900p low, seeing as we can get a solid 60 frames per second average. If you wanted a little bit better video quality, you could still run it at 1080p low, but you would get quite a few dips, so you would have to be prepared for that. But pretty much 60 frames per second at 900p low for Halo Infinite. Our last title, Forza Horizon 5, 1080p low, average 69, minimum of 56 and maximum of 80. The 900p low average is 76, minimum of 62 and maximum of 93. So as we can see here, 1080p low Forza Horizon 5 is perfectly fine. 69 frames per second average, that's perfectly fine. It only dropped down to 56. So if you have a similar setup, you should be fine running Forza Horizon 5 at 1080p low. Overall, is the 1050 Ti viable in 2022? I would say yes. Just about hanging on in there. Now, obviously Cyberpunk is the most demanding game we have here, and it is struggling a little bit for Cyberpunk, but pretty much all the other games, bar Watch Dogs Legion, it was all 60 frames per second or over at 1080p low or 900p low. So you could play around with the settings. If you wanted to maybe go to like something like 900p medium, you could maybe try that instead, or maybe using FSR on certain titles. That would obviously help to higher the frame rate and maybe not lose too much video quality. Overall, if you still had the 1050 Ti, I wouldn't upgrade yet, especially with graphics card prices as they are currently. I would probably just hold out, probably see yourself through another 6 months or maybe even a year, and then look to upgrade to something like the RTX 3050 or maybe even the 3060 at a later time when you actually are upgrading your whole system as well. If you still have maybe like first gen Ryzen, I would say yeah, probably just stick with the 1050 Ti, but if you are looking to maybe go to 12th gen Intel, probably now is a time that you could potentially think about upgrading, but I'd probably hold off for another 6 months at least at the moment. So I hope you like that little sort of review of the 1050 Ti. I am going to look at more graphics cards. I've got a few in line that I've got, which I'm going to look at. So obviously, please subscribe to see them. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.